This is Radio Brockley.
Hello and welcome to Brockley News, Radio Brockley's weekly show, keeping you up to date with all you need to know about what's happening in and around the hospital. I'm Alan Joyce, and coming up today we'll be hearing from the hospital's chaplain, Wendy Brooker, and finding out more about her role in the hospital. And we'll also be hearing from Johnny Benjamin, the man behind the Find Mike campaign, which has been all over the news both here and abroad. He'll be joining us to talk about his experiences and his work with mental health charities. Then at 8:30, your chance to win some Radio Brockley goodies without leaving your bed on Bedside Bingo with David Rauch. And at 9 tonight, it's all your choice of tunes on the Sunday Request Show. Keith Reeve will be hosting that between 9 and 10 o'clock this evening. So stay tuned to London's longest running hospital radio station, Radio Brockley. Well, first tonight we hear from the hospital's chaplain, Wendy Brooker, who's been here at the hospital for over 15 years now. She regularly tours the wards and took some time out to speak to us here at Radio Brockley, so I started by asking her more about her role.
I have to run a service, basically. That's what I'm here for, as the lead chaplain, and that involves admin work as well as the work which I love the most, which is pastoral counselling with patients, with staff, with visitors, people who may come in the chapel, people I may meet around the site, or the patients in their beds. It could be anywhere and any of them, anytime, when I'm here.
And you mentioned the services, so when do these services take place? Do you have set times every week that you have a formal service?
Well, no, we don't really, no. We only have one, because, I mean, you and I know the layout of this hospital, and with orthopaedic patients, they can't get to where the chapel is. If they've got their legs up in slings and they've had spinal surgery, it's not an easy place to get to. We do have one service a week at 12:45 every Thursday lunchtime. It lasts half an hour, and that's mainly for staff or any patient who happens to be able to get there, and for my team, because I work with some lay chaplains. And all the other times we go on wards, we go and pray with patients or take Holy Communion to patients at the bedside, because they just cannot get to the chapel. So people think I do lots of services in the chapel, but in actual fact we don't. It's a good base for prayer, but services normally at the bedside for patients.
So do you have a set time every week that you go around to each ward and have these services, or do people have to request
it's by request. Because of the Data Protection Act, we can't just inflict ourselves, and you're not allowed to have ward services, so it has to be individuals at their bedside, and we pull the curtains round and make it private.
Okay.
And that's the way we have to function.
So if people were interested in having a service, how would they go about contacting you?
Well, every ward should know how to contact me, a nurse. They've got ward directories, and my extension number must be on the email site. So leaving me a message in the chapel, or anyone who sees me around who knows me will tell me. They know how to get the information to me if I need it. And if the staff forget, well then I hope the patient will badger them until they do remember.
When are you actually in the hospital again? Because you're not in every day, are you?
No, I'm now here Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and occasional Sundays. Each one in the team takes a turn at taking communion and praying with patients on a Sunday afternoon. So, it's enough at the moment. I just about manage it.
And if people do want to use the chapel for just a quiet sort of prayer time, whether it be patients or visitors, is that open for private prayer and that?
Oh, it's open every day. It is locked up overnight. But it's open when security goes round quite early in the morning, and I'm not here when they do it, so I know it's quite early. And they do lock up at night and turn lights off if they're left on, but sometimes people want to use it with the lights on, not in the dark. And yes, it's always there for anybody to use. They're very welcome. That's staff, visitors, or patients if they can get there.
And can you just explain exactly where the chapel is for anyone who's not familiar with the layout? It's not too difficult to get to, is it?
No, as you come in from the main entrance, it's on the right-hand side of the road. It's in front of rehab, which rehab has 2 conservatories on each side, and the very large porter cabin in front of the left-hand side conservatory of rehab, that's the chapel, and it has notices in the window.
Okay, and obviously there'll be many people listening of other faiths as well, not just Anglican. So if they wanted to, have something for their own religion, how would they go about doing that? Do you provide services for them as well?
I'm a contact point for people of any religion, and none come to that. But yes, we often have Muslim people praying in the chapel. They have a big plastic crate with their prayer mats in, and there's a space at the back they can use. They know which way Mecca is, and there's a notice on the side, on the wall anyway, telling them. And one particular day I had a Buddhist with a metronome, and then I had a Hindu who was happy to use the chapel. I have all the Muslim people, members of staff and perhaps visitors who come in and they know they can use it for prayer. It's also used for Friday prayers for the Muslims, and Christians who come in and use it. So yes, I think we are very multi-faith.
Well catered for. Brilliant. Wendy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wendy Brooker speaking to me earlier there. This is Brockley News here on Radio Brockley. Don't forget, Bedside Bingo is coming up in about 25 minutes' time. Your chance to win some goodies without leaving your bed. David Rouch is calling out the numbers. My patient rep should be up with you very shortly, hopefully. But if you don't get a chance to play bingo, or perhaps you don't fancy bingo tonight, then you can still have a request on between 9 and 10 this evening on the Sunday Request Show with Keith Reid. Well, next tonight we hear about a man who's been all over the news over the last few weeks with the Finding Mike campaign, which has got people talking openly about mental health issues like never before. Our reporter Emma Nouriel happens to be a good friend of Johnny Benjamin, so he took some time out earlier today to come in and have a chat.
I'm here with Johnny Benjamin, and if you don't recognise his name, you'll probably recognise his story. Over the last few weeks, Johnny's told the UK and the world as well his story to raise awareness about mental health, in particular the Find Mike campaign. Johnny, can you paint a picture of what happened that day?
Sure. So it was the 14th of January 2008, and I was really unwell at the time. I'd just been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is a combination of schizophrenia and depression. And I just got to the point where I couldn't cope anymore with it, and I decided that I was going to go and take my life. So I was in hospital at the time, and
was that for this or?
That was for the mental illness, yeah. And I've been in there for about just over 3 weeks, and decided enough was enough, and I ran away and I went to a bridge in central London, and I went onto the edge, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, this guy just approached me and started talking to me and started asking me questions and telling me, we can go for a coffee, we can talk about this. And we talked for, I don't know how long it was, half an hour. Everything is very hazy in my mind. But we talked for a long time, and eventually he convinced me not to jump, and he helped me back over the edge. And at that point, the police came along, and they charged out their car and grabbed me and took me into an ambulance. And that was the last time that I ever saw this guy that stopped me. And I've thought about him a lot ever since. And I was really desperate to find him and to thank him for what he did. Because if it wasn't for him, then, I might not be here today. And he essentially started my recovery. I'm in a much better place now. And so, yeah, I wanted to find him, and I launched a campaign to do so. 6 years later, and yeah, it was it's quite unexpected, the result of the campaign.
So, what were you expecting?
I don't know. I was expecting to hopefully raise awareness of issues like mental illness and particularly suicide. That was the main point of the campaign.
But how did it come about? I mean, was it a case of you making a phone call and saying to, I don't know, Joe Bloggs, I'm just making the name up, oh look, I really want to raise awareness for this campaign.
Sure.
Can you help me out? How does that work?
So I am an ambassador for the mental health charity Rethink Mental Illness.
Okay, so this was before anyway.
This is before.
Fine, yeah.
And they suggested to me, why don't you launch this campaign?
Okay.
They thought it was a really good story. And they said, if you launch the campaign, we'll help you, we'll give you a platform, and you can raise lots of awareness about suicide and mental illness. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. And kind of went from there and launched a big social media campaign from it.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things you had to keep quiet. I mean, I'm friends with you outside of radio, and I know that there was something brewing for quite a while, but you weren't even allowed to tell me about it.
No.
Was that really difficult to keep it all really stim?
Yeah, it was really difficult to keep it all quiet. I really wanted to tell people that I was about to launch this campaign and that I was going to do various interviews on TV and on radio, but I had to keep it quiet until the actual day that we launched the campaign. And then, it kind of just took off from there.
And how did you feel when it took off? Was it obviously, I imagine, went a lot bigger than you anticipated?
Yeah, much bigger than ever anticipated. In fact, the website of the page about the campaign crashed as soon as it launched.
It's crazy.
Yeah, went on Daybreak. That was the first interview, was Daybreak.
Okay.
And then suddenly it started trending on Twitter, and people started sharing it all over the world. And then before long, it was trending in Canada and South Africa. And we were getting requests for media interviews from all over the world.
So you are like an international celeb now, basically.
Wow. No, no. I hate to be thought of myself like that. No, it's been amazing, completely unexpected. No one ever thought it would reach a stage where it was trending in other countries, where I was doing interviews with, people like CNN. Still can't believe it to this day, really. It still feels quite surreal.
Yeah.
But it's great because, I've had people message me and even come up to me on the street and tell me that it's helped them in something they're going through. Maybe
I think it's really brave, really, really brave to be able to come forward and tell your story like that.
I think it's really important because particularly suicide is an issue that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
And, it's the biggest killer of young men.
Yeah.
Takes the lives of 16 people every single day in this country, which is just...
It's crazy.
Awful. It's really awful, and we don't talk about it enough. So it's great to just be out there raising awareness of it and hopefully making a difference.
On to something a little bit away from mental health slightly. You're actually a trained actor, and you're making a movie about your story, a film about your story, a documentary. Is it hard to play yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the film is kind of more about the whole campaign in itself. So actually following me from the start, from when we launched the campaign, all the way through to finding this guy. So it's more just kind of like an observational documentary following my story.
Okay.
But it was a challenge. Yeah, it was quite a challenge because I had to revisit places that I'd not been to for a while. And it was quite tough.
Did you find that quite hard emotionally?
Yeah, it was quite hard emotionally, yeah.
Okay.
But it was good in a way because it's given me some sort of closure on that whole chapter of my life. Yeah. Really difficult chapter. And now, through doing this campaign, through meeting the guy that stopped me, I feel like, I've got closure on that.
So this documentary is going to be released when?
It's the 29th of May.
And this is going to be released to the general public, or?
Yeah, we're having a premiere at the BFI in London. And then we are launching it. Not too sure which channel or which platform it's going to be on, but hopefully launching it that same day.
Amazing. And what's it called?
It's called Finding Mike.
So, we should look out for it. Going back to the Finding Mike thing, obviously I found it quite, not funny, funny's the wrong word, but the fact that his name wasn't actually Mike when you found him. Where did the Find Mike thing come from?
Sure. So I felt like we had to give this person a name.
Yeah.
And Mike was just a random name that I came up with.
Well, like, why not John?
I know. Do you know what?
Oh, well, you're John, so that would have been a bit...
I don't know why, to be honest. After the event happened, and I thought about him quite a bit, I felt like I wanted to give him a name, give him a character instead of just being a nobody, because he meant a lot to me, what he did that day. And I just suddenly one day thought of the name Mike and applied it to him, and we kind of went with that for launching the campaign. And
how did you find him?
So we launched a campaign on Twitter and Facebook, and it was through Facebook that he was found. His fiancée, 2 days into the campaign, saw one of her friends, posting about it, and she recognised the story straight away, and she phoned up her fiancé, who's called Neil, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I think this is the guy that you stopped that day. I think he's looking for you." And he got in touch with the mental health charity Rethink that I was working with, and he said, "It's me." And the thing is, we got lots of people coming forward to say, "I think it's me." So that was
How did you know which one was legit?
Well, that's the thing. We had to filter through them all, and it took quite a while, to go through them all and to find out which one was the real person, because everyone's coming forward saying, "No, it's me, it's definitely me." But then once we talked and we kind of exchanged accounts of what happened, we realised that there was only one person that it could be.
Yeah.
Things like time of day had to match up. And
do you think these people were just fabricating stories, or do you think that they genuinely, that is how many people get stopped from jumping every day?
It's genuine. I think it's genuine. Yeah, I really do. It's quite amazing how many people have stopped other people from jumping off bridges. There's so many silent heroes out there that people just don't realise. So that was something else that was completely unexpected during the campaign. Never expected to find that out. But quite amazing as well. Really quite amazing.
So let's go back to what you were saying at the start, schizoaffective disorder. Talk to us about the symptoms of that. How did you recognise that something was wrong?
Sure. So symptoms of schizoaffective disorder include hearing a voice, being delusional, being paranoid as well. And I started hearing a voice when I was 10, and I also started having delusions around that time as well. But at the time I didn't realise I was ill. I just thought that everyone heard a voice in their heads. I thought I was being watched by cameras. I thought I was on my own version of The Truman Show, the film with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And again, I thought there was nothing I could do about that. It was just my life. And so this went on for a number of years. And it really started to get difficult in my mid-teens and then throughout my later teens. And that's when the depression started as well. But I didn't realise how ill I was until I reached about 20. And then I had a complete breakdown in my final year of university. I couldn't cope with, the voice I was hearing and things like that, and the depression. And then I found myself in a psychiatric unit, and I was diagnosed with this condition. And yeah, it was really difficult. It was difficult. And I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know anyone else. None of my friends had.
Yeah.
I knew of had a mental health issue.
Did you speak to anyone in your family about it? Or?
No, because again, none of them, as far as I was aware, had a mental health issue. And at school, never received any mental health education. At college, university, never got any mental health education at all. So I didn't know who to talk to or where to go. I had gone to doctors, but they didn't really seem to be taking my mental health seriously.
Okay.
A lot of them seemed to think it was a phase, it would pass. I was just a teenager going through, hormonal changes. So, yeah, I think I probably could have got help sooner, could have got treated sooner, but I didn't, and that's how I ended up in hospital.
Okay. 1 in 4 people are affected by mental health, and I feel like it's until very recently, in the UK anyway, that people have been very afraid to talk about mental health. And I myself, and I don't know if it's because I know you, but I do know that since seeing you on the television and seeing you doing various things, there's been more around about mental health, whether it's in the newspapers or on the radio or on the television. How do you feel about that? Do you hope to achieve more from that, or...?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think there's amazing things happening in terms of breaking down the stigma of mental health.
Yeah.
And that's come from people like Stephen Fry, who's incredibly open about his own mental health issues, and also about his suicide attempt that happened just a couple of years ago. He's very, very vocal about that, which was fantastic. So that's helped, and also I think that there's some great charities and organisations doing amazing work, like Time to Change. You might have seen their adverts on the tube, in the newspapers. So it's quite an exciting time, I think. There's still a long way to go. I think, for me, there needs to be much more mental health education in schools, colleges, and also in workplaces as well. A lot of people really struggle in work, and then they fall out of work and they don't know what to do. And there's not enough really in terms of mental health education. But I think it will happen, and I'm excited. I think there's a lot still to achieve, but I think it's going to happen, and hopefully we'll see it in our generation.
Yeah. Obviously, we're at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. There are going to be a lot of patients in wards that potentially might be having mental health, might be affected from mental health, might be having suicidal thoughts. A lot of them have been told or diagnosed that they have issues or conditions that they never predicted, aren't genetic, don't know about, which might lead to that. Do you have any advice for them?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I would say whatever it is, don't keep it to yourself. Either write it down. I used to keep a journal, which I found really effective. So either kind of write it down in a diary, or just, however, just make sure you get it out, or of course talk to someone about it. As we were just saying, the stigma is being broken down, and people are a lot more receptive if you say that you've got a mental health issue, if you're struggling. So don't be afraid to talk to someone about it. There's fantastic organisations, charities out there. All of them have got advice lines, or you can email them. Charity such as mine has an info line and email, and if you're struggling, then drop them a line, and they'll understand. I think it's good to talk and have someone listen. It can really make all the difference. So don't be afraid to talk about it. And other things as well, such as keeping busy in terms of doing things like exercise, I think is really important. And just not bottling it up. I think that's the best piece of advice that I can give, really.
Okay, and like you said before, you're an ambassador for the Rethink Mental Health charity. What does that involve?
So it involves me doing things like this, and giving lots of talks, trying to break down the stigma, especially attached to severe mental illness like bipolar and schizophrenia.
What do they actually do as a charity? How do they help mental health?
Rethink Mental Illness provides support and advice to anyone suffering from severe mental illness. Yeah. They also provide support to their families, their carers, and they have lots of regional groups where they might do different activities. They have crisis centres as well. Okay. So lots of different things to try and help people that are suffering from mental illness. And it's not for a particular
demographic, it can happen to anyone, any age, any background?
It can happen to anyone. Yeah. It's really important to note that, absolutely. It can happen to anyone at any time. No one's immune to mental illness at all. And Rethink are also really passionate about changing the system and improving the care that's given to people with mental illness. So they'll lobby the government and try and change the way the NHS is run in terms of providing care to people with mental illness.
If people want to get involved as a volunteer, they want to do something for mental health charity, they want to raise money, they want to give up their time, how can they do so?
Talk to one of the charities, such as Rethink Mental Illness or Mind or Time to Change. I know they'd love to have your support. Okay. With charities such as Time to Change, you can actually blog, and that's another thing that's really useful. I found really useful.
You did that, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I found that really therapeutic and really beneficial in my recovery from mental illness. And a lot of the charities like Time to Change, they want blogs, and they'll post your blog up. You don't even have to give your real name or a real picture, but they'd love to have your blog, and again, that's quite therapeutic, so I'd recommend that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I know you're very, very busy doing all your radio and
TV
interviews. So it's been an absolute pleasure. And to end with, you've chosen a song for us, haven't you?
Yes, I have. It's actually my favourite song. It's by Nina Simone, and it's called Feeling Good. And I always listened to this song when I was going through my recovery and struggling with the hard times, and this always lifted me up. So I hope it does for someone else as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The Disability Foundation is a charity located within the hospital that offers a variety of complementary therapies at low cost to those with chronic health and complex medical conditions, as well as their families and carers. They are the only charity in the UK to offer this service, and they have no age threshold. They provide a holistic approach to both conventional and complementary treatments. Their treatments include acupuncture, massage, chiropody and reflexology, along with many more. To find out more about the Foundation Trust or to get in contact with them, phone them on 0208 954 7373, or you can look them up on their website at tdf.org.uk.
Radio Brockley, on air 24 hours a day.
Well, the charity doing great work here in the hospital. So if you haven't heard about the Find Mike campaign up until today and you want to find out more, then you can view the film. The best way of doing it is via Facebook, actually. If you go to facebook.com/Finding Mike, you'll actually see the full film on there. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube as well, though. Other links that he mentions, the Rethink Mental Illness was the charity that he worked for. You can go to rethink.org for further details on them, or the Mind charity, and that's mind.org.uk. Don't forget you can listen to this and other previous editions of Brockley News by following the links from our websites. Go to radiobrockley.org and follow the links to our YouTube website for this and other previous interviews. You can tune into Brockley News Extra on 5 days a week at midday for another chance to hear some of our recent interviews, including on Monday evenings at 8 o'clock as well. Tomorrow you get another chance to hear Keith Reeves' recent interview with Len Rule MBE, known for his work with theatre organs. That's tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock here on Radio Brockley. If there's anything else happening here in the hospital that you want to find out more about, or perhaps some other local charities, then call us on extension 5483 and we'll try and cover it on future editions of Brockley News. Up next on Radio Brockley, it's Bedside Bingo then. David Rauch will be here. Your chance to win some Radio Brockley goodies without leaving your bed. Good luck if you're playing along. And then at 9 tonight, it's all your choice of tunes on the Sunday Request Show with Keith Reeve. Brockley News returns at the same time next week, where we'll be taking a tour of the Aspire National Training Centre, another charity to be based here in the hospital grounds. From me, Alan Joyce, though, good night.